I used to hate potatoes because everybody kept saying I look like one. Over the years, even though the self-loathing's still there, but my love for the ingredient grew exponentially. In terms of cooking videos, it doesn't get more relatable than this. So today we're gonna take a look at some of the most viewed recipes on the internet. As I've said it before, in this community, we believe more views means better quality. Our first recipe has the highest number of all time.
Weather outside is frightful.
Two potatoes.
Amassing more than 100 million views from the second cutest voice on YouTube, Miss Shirt and Mr. Huh. The cutest voice on YouTube is obviously me. We did a fairly good job on shorts a couple weeks ago, so let's go more in depth. As you can see here, we're starting with a very shallow cut around the center of the potato to help release the skin after boiling. Starting with cold water, we're dropping all the potatoes and just let it simmer. When it's done, we'll very quickly take it out of the water and throw them into ice. The temperature shock is gonna release the skin. Don't let it sit there too long though, because the starch might start absorbing water. And just check out how easily I can peel off the skin without breaking the potato. You see, everything in the kitchen gets easier if you listen to my expert advice. After we peel everything off, we'll put it in the bowl and obviously mash it up with the Ligma fork. To that mixture, we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of mochi flour and 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. The original recipe called for potato starch instead of cornstarch because potato starch can help us prevent any sticking in the fryer, but I don't have any, so we're just gonna deal with it. Once it comes to a pliable dough, we can start rolling it out into a strip. Cut it into whatever shape you like. I'm doing these pillows because apparently my voice puts you to sleep. And finally, make these dents with the Ligma fork on top to give it some character. You see how they're all sticking together in the fryer like that? If we used potato starch, we wouldn't have this problem. Also, sorry if it splattered on you, but it's better for them to stick to each other rather than the bottom of the pot. I guess I have no idea what I'm doing here. Still getting over that fear of hot oil. And check out these potato pillows. They're brown and greasy just like my actual pillows. Top it off with that powder we made a few weeks ago. I guess since we've already tasted it before, I'm not gonna go into further detail. The outside is extremely crispy and the mochi on the inside kind of makes it taste chewy and cheesy in a way. So the rating for this dish stays a 9.7. It's so worth trying. I can't emphasize this enough. This recipe has 40 million views and it's ASMR. Does every viral potato recipe have Christmas background music? We're gonna use what they used in the video, baby red potatoes. And before we start, we gotta find a baking dish and pour in about 1 inch of oil.
Hey, FutureCanoe, that doesn't look like 1 inch.
Listen, on this channel, we overestimate inches by 4 times. Don't ask me why. We'll put this in a 350-degree oven for it to come up to temp. While it's heating, we'll use this peeling hack from the video. Stabbing them with your favorite fork to stabilize it, and then it's easier to peel. Look at all these potato hacks we're learning today. Again, we'll start the potatoes in cold water. What I learned from my mom is that if the vegetable grows underground, you start with cold water with the lid on. And if the vegetable grows in sunlight, you blanch it with boiling water. Her logic makes sense to me. Let me know if it makes sense to you. As it shows in the video, we gotta roughen up the edges a little bit, just like what society's doing to me. I guess we gotta be a little gentler because we broke a few. Now we'll lay the potatoes into the heated oil. Seems like a dangerous activity. This is just soaking potatoes in hot oil. Why even bake them in the oven? Why not just deep fry them? Now we'll put it back in the oven at 350 and then turn it every 15 minutes or so that all sides are crispy. I feel like this is just extra steps. Reminds me of when I take off my pants to fart. After 45 minutes of waiting around and every 15 minutes of hot air facials, the potatoes are ready. We'll hit it with a lot of salt and garlic powder and some of these stuff. I'm wearing Invisalign right now and I don't feel like brushing my teeth, so I'll ask my annoying roommate to taste it and rate 1 through 10 for us. Damn. Here's a direct quote from him, word by word. Thick, crispy shell and fluffy on the inside. Very well seasoned throughout. I'm FutureCanoe's roommate. I'm very ungrateful for all the food that he cooks. I never refilled the water filter even though I drink from it. I don't rinse dishes, so food dries out overnight and FutureCanoe has to scrub for a long time to get them clean. So pretty detailed description. We'll give it an 8.7. This recipe to me is what I am to my mom. a reminder of failure. In case you forgot, let's take a look at my previous attempt.
Them till it's nice and golden brown on all sides.
Fry them till it's nice and golden brown on all... Why does it look like that? Let's give it a taste and rate it 1 through 10.
I thought that I've been hurt before.
Here's our second chance. I'm gonna skip the boiling and mashing part and jump straight to the mush. To that we'll add a tablespoon and a half of cornstarch and a big handful of mozzarella, maybe 2 ounces. As usual, we're gonna touch it a lot first and then wrap it tight in plastic. Get all the air bubbles out and then put it in the fridge for maximum 1 hour. If it's longer than that, it's gonna look like this. When it's semi-frozen, we'll cut it into strips and throw it into a 350-degree fryer. For some reason they're all sticking together, so we gotta reevaluate our strategy. We're gonna take a pair of tweezers and dip it in the oil till the outside part is already forming a crust, and then just leave it to cook in this spider strainer thing. After we make sure it won't stick anymore, we'll drop it into the oil. The recipe is pretty similar to the potato pillow one. I guess instead of mochi we use mozzarella in it. So essentially it is a combination of a french fry and mozzarella stick. We actually have a bit of a cheese pull going on here, even though it's tiny but it's still satisfying. The cheese is very hidden, kinda tastes like a fatter and richer french fry. Execution a lot better than last time, so 8.5 out of 10. This recipe repeatedly broke the internet. I noticed that it's really prominent in upper class, middle-aged lady Instagram.
If there is one potato recipe you make this season, let it be these crispy garlic parmesan crusted potatoes.
If there's one recipe that you make this week, it has to be these Parmesan crusted roasted potatoes.
If there's one recipe I need to make in my pathetic life, it has to be these Parmesan crusted potatoes. Starting with the block of parm, are these mold? Cause I don't care. I'm also gonna do some pecorino romano. And are these mold? So after shredding all this cheese, we'll spread them out evenly and lay our half potatoes on top. I didn't take bites out of them, those are just the sprouting spots that I cut off. Once they're all layered up evenly, we'll season it with some garlic powder, rosemary, oregano, and pepper. I didn't put any salt on it because Parmesan is basically MSG with the milky finish. We'll spray some oil on the potatoes and then into the oven at 350 till it's crispy. Look how golden brown they got. I'm gonna try to lift it up like a sheet of paper. Sheet. Oh yeah. Kinda looks like one of those rare minerals from the paleontology channel. I don't think we need to taste it to know it's good, but I'm handing it to my annoying roommate. Crispy parm and roasted potato. What could go wrong, you know? Pretty low effort too. 9 out of 10. This recipe intrigues me quite a bit. It's a leftover mashed potato hack. Seems like a creative way to reheat it. Starting with a tablespoon of butter in the pan, we'll brown it a little bit. When I was making the mash last night, I purposely didn't put any butter because we're frying it up today. We'll spread it out in the pan and let it obtain some color. And just periodically fold in the sides so the brown part gets mixed in. Really taking on the no color, no flavor philosophy. The scientist Louis Maillard will be proud of us. It smells really similar to a hash brown. To make it a little more appetizing, I'm gonna garnish it with chives. Alright, pan fried mashed potatoes. I don't really want to taste this, so I'm gonna pass it to my annoying roommate. So basically it tastes like a regular mash. However, even though we only put in a little bit of butter, the frying made it taste like we put in a lot more butter. So it's a great hack to make it taste richer. 6 out of 10.
Here's how you turn a jacket potato into something beautiful. Right, get that in the oven and forget about it.
So we'll get these potatoes in the oven and forget about it. I actually did.
Sprinkle over a little bit of flour and then get some egg yolk on there.
Once it's baked through and cooled down a little bit, we can cut it in half and push it through a wired rack. This way it helps us peel the potatoes and also mash it up a little bit. It'll work better if your wired rack is more concentrated.
Start chopping that in, you can use a knife. And then as soon as it comes together, start rolling it into a little sausage.
We'll sprinkle a tablespoon or so of flour and a yolk. Take a bench scraper and start chopping and folding until it becomes smooth. Chopping is getting really difficult and we have a lot of chunks left over, so I'll try with my hands. Okay, the chunks are still there. I feel like it's undercooked and it's sticking a lot. It's getting increasingly frustrating, so I'm gonna chop it some more with the bench scraper. Okay, I've been dealing with this dough for 20 minutes and it's still not taking shape. And you see how it's sticking to the bench scraper and my glove? I added flour and it's still not helping. I don't know what's going on, but you guys know how strong-minded I am. I will never give up on a recipe. No matter how tricky it becomes, I'll always see it to the end. This recipe is the one in the thumbnail. I'm not clickbaiting y'all. However, its origin is a little bit confusing. Let's talk about it. I first saw this recipe on YouTube in a video by Delicious Day. The title says potato noodle with garlic. Is it a mushroom or potato? It looks so interesting. This video got more than 19 million views. When I click on the description, I saw this. There are too many people copying my recipe on Instagram and YouTube. Please refrain. Then I went on Instagram and did discover a lot of similar recipes. But when I scrolled to Patrick's video,
today we're making some spicy potato noodles and it's so easy to make. It only takes 5 ingredients.
I realized he actually posted the recipe before Delicious Day, after some more digging for potatoes. I discovered this Chinese guy that posted the recipe 3 years before both of them. So who's copying who at this point? Sorry, who's copying whom at this point? Well, the answer doesn't matter because I'm copying everybody. Even though the origin gets a little complicated, the recipe is fairly easy. We need some mashed up boiled or steamed potatoes, about 440 grams of it. To that, we're gonna mix in some potato starch. I don't have that, so I'm using some sweet potato starch. I did some research online. It's supposed to work even better than normal potato starch, so 200 grams of it. Lastly, we just need 150 milliliters of water to mix everything together. At first, it's gonna seem a little too dry, but you just gotta be patient and trust your repetitive hand motion. You can rub it with your hand if you want. After about 3 minutes, it's gonna come to a smooth dough like this. We'll transfer it to a work surface and start dividing up into balls. At this point, my dough is very elastic and a little bit sticky, so I put some oil on my glove. We're supposed to make these mushroom shapes with an empty bottle. My apartment doesn't have any bottles because I don't have any friends, but I think this lid will get the job done just as well. It's just gonna look a little less like a mushroom and a little more like a abalone. Also, I forgot to mention, I don't think you have to make it into a mushroom. You can do whatever shape you like. Now we'll drop all the dumplings / noodles into boiling water individually and stir it once in a while so it doesn't stick to the bottom. And maybe after about 3 to 5 minutes, it's gonna float to the top and looking puffy like this. We'll take them all out into my favorite bowl and prepare the last and the most satisfying step. Check out how jiggly they are. As instructed, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, along with 2 cloves of freshly grated garlic. It's not required by the recipe, but I added a teaspoon of bean paste. You can do gochujang if you want. It's gonna give the sauce a little more depth and some thickness. And 1 tablespoon of sugar. You can add some MSG if you want. And the main character, 2 tablespoons of chili powder. I'm using gochugaru here because I can't handle spice, but you can use any chili powder you want. And top it all off with some scallion. I'm about to pour hot oil on it, and I know a lot of you guys love that. So I'm gonna be quiet for this next part. Doesn't it smell good? I used a little less oil than instructed, so our sauce is very thick. I love how we're making chili oil right on top of them, so the potato dumplings gets a hot splash of oil too. It's really a ceremonial step. It's the completion of a dish and the activation of wonderful aromas. This final splash of hot oil is the secret ingredient to many dishes in Chinese cuisine. But you know what's the secret ingredient to my cooking? Love.
Picture perfect, you don't need no filter.
Looking like the only type of mushroom with magic I can get behind with. Alright, let's shake it a little bit, try it, and rate it 1 through 10. First, let's talk about the noodle / dumplings. The texture is really soft and chewy, but at the same time, it kind of bounces in between your teeth. It's very mild and has a subtle potato flavor. Very pleasant. I'm adding a little bit of black vinegar for the acidity. As I mentioned before, I put a little less oil than usual and also added some bean paste, so this created this thick sauce that goes into the gap of these mushrooms. It really hits all the spots. You got some sweetness from the sugar, umami from the bean paste, and some acidity that I added in the end. It's very addicting. I think this is the best savory dish we've made on this channel, so I'll give it a 9.8 out of 10. At the same time, I feel like most of the credit goes to the sauce. As you can see here, I got a piece of parm crusted potato from earlier. I'm gonna dip it in the sauce and give it a taste. As expected, it makes everything taste good. Last but not least, it's still winter time, so we're gonna end with a heartwarming soup. I never had a loaded potato, so I guess I'm gonna have it in soup form first. Dicing half of a green pepper and some green onions. And don't question my meat choices, cause I'm smelling the bacon now and it smells completely fine. It might look like Spider-Man just saved it from a burning building, but as we all know, more color, more flavor. We'll cut these strips into small pieces and put them into a pot. And I learned online that if you start bacon in water, it minimizes the splattering and it renders it better. So put a splash and get it on stove on medium high. Kinda looks like poison. When the bacon is pretty much all crispy, we'll take them out and use the remaining grease to fry up our aromatics. The moisture from the vegetable is going to help us deglaze the bottom. And if you're new to this channel, there's this rule that we have. You can't use the B word in the comment section, but you can use the C word. When you feel like the vegetables have taken on enough color, we'll put in some freshly minced garlic. Add back in the potatoes and just mix it through to get it heated. Then you want to do half a cup of milk and half a cup of heavy cream. I'm only doing cream because my dad's still not back. The recipe calls for chicken stock or chicken bouillon. I'm just gonna use 2 teaspoons of miso paste. Similar to chicken bouillon, it's just MSG in paste form. Then we'll add enough water to cover it and simmer till it gets thick. I forgot to mention, I also seasoned it with some salt, white pepper, and some Cajun seasoning. And lastly, turn off heat, add in an ounce of cheddar and mix till it fully dissolves. And I know at this point a lot of you have some questions for me, but I don't know why the bottom is burnt, I don't know why it's green, I don't know where the aromatics went, and I don't know why it looks like throw up. But believe me when I tell you, it actually smells a lot better than it looks. So before all of us place harsh judgment on this soup, let's give it a taste and rate it 1 through 10. Is as intense as it is flavorful. It kind of just dominates your mouth in an instant. The potato pieces disintegrate into the soup, thickening while flavoring it, and all the other elements acting together to create this unique loaded potato experience. Personally, I am a big fan. Despite how it looks, it's very satisfying. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. But considering the amount of bacon grease, cheese, cream, and salt in there, you should make this a lot if you're here for a fun time, not a long time. Anyways, that's it for the potato recipe this week. I actually ended up making the dumplings again because I loved it so much. Honestly, every single recipe in this episode is pretty impressive. I realized that potato videos are always a good idea, so we're gonna make this its own series on this channel. So every 3 to 6 months, I'll check back in with all of you to test out some of the most viral recipes I've found. And as always, if you make any of these recipes from my videos, just post it on Instagram and tag me. I might roast you. Alright, thank you.